Welcome to OLC 4.0. This is term 1A. We are on class 19, working on assignments 27 and 28, and learning about antonyms. Today is Monday, October 7th, 2024, and I am Jillian Percy. Here are all the ways to reach me if you want to talk to me while I'm in the studio. 1-800-465-7144. You can also email me, jillian.percy@nnecschools.org or jillian.percy@nnec.on.ca. You can Facebook me, capital G, capital P, ERCY, space, capital WAHSA. You can also check out my YouTube channel. I've got classes recorded from this term and from last year. I am in the office Monday to Thursday, 8:30 to 11:30. And then I'm on a lunch break, and then I'm here from 1:30 to 4:30. On Friday, my office hours are a little bit different, 8:30 to 12, lunch break, and then 1 to 3:30. Office hours do change from term to term. Okay, I said on November 1st, we switched to a new schedule. So at that point, you'll have to kind of check in and see where I'm at. Sending in assignments, student work at nnec.on.ca. Don't just send it to me directly. This way, everyone has got access who might need it. The secretary can log that you submitted the work. Always make sure your full name, the course name, the assignment name, and the number is on every assignment. Not just the file, but on the actual physical assignment, okay? Because it gets printed off, and that's what I get, right? I don't necessarily see the file. Also label if it's the rough or the good draft. If you need to take a photograph of an assignment, which happens sometimes, just make sure to send it as an attachment. It's much easier for us to print it off as an attachment than if you just put it directly into the body of the email, okay? This is my YouTube channel. Here's what it looks like, kind of very simple. If you go to the playlist tab, here is what will come up. The very first playlist is the one we're doing right now, OLC 40, Term 1A. You will see previous playlists. Those are from last year. So if you get ahead of us, like we're on 27, I think today. So if you're already though in unit 3, then you might want to go look at some of those. I also have some previous recordings from another course. English 4E is here in case you're also taking that, because I know some people are in both classes. We are also now, my boss has been starting a new WASA YouTube channel, and he's got different playlists going on there. So I'm not sure what else is here. I know at the moment there's the math course and the OLC 40 course, and eventually all the courses that we offer will be on here, and you can just click on it and find it. If you are somebody who takes more than one course, which is true of most people, then this is a nice, easy way to find us rather than having to go from one channel to the next. Okay. Our learning goals today, we got a lot going on. Use appropriate strategies to expand vocabulary through reading and writing. Use knowledge of the organizational structure of a variety of graphic texts to identify the purpose of a text, locate information, and extract pertinent details. Explain how the form of a graphic text helps the reader to understand the information or message. Demonstrate understanding of a variety of texts commonly read in daily life. And then I'm going to kind of combine these together. Use appropriate strategies to locate information, to activate and build on prior knowledge, to make inferences about and interpret different kinds of texts, and to make connections between personal experiences towards graphic text. We do those for all, but we are also making sure that we practice them with graphic texts, because graphic texts are all around us these days. All right, starting off, I can use appropriate strategies to expand my vocabulary through reading and writing. Okay, so we're talking about suffixes. Suffixes are like a little ending that comes at the end of a base word. It can change or modify its meaning. Some of them we see so often, we just don't even realize that they're a suffix. For example, when you see a noun with an S or an ES, we know it means the noun is plural, like cup is one cup, cups is plural. And we just know, hey, that's what that suffix means, okay? So even though they're very simple and common, that is a type of suffix, okay? So yeah, we add S, bat equals bats, chair equals chairs. A word that already ends in some of the letter combinations that already sound like S, so like CH, SH, SS, X. We can't just add an S there because it doesn't work. It sounds too similar, like then you're like foxes. So we add ES and it sounds like es. So bench, benches, box, boxes, glass, glasses, dish, dishes. So when you hear that es at the end, it means that that word is plural. For Y, we change the I into, sorry, the Y into an I, and then we add ES. So baby, babies, city, cities, ruby, rubies. And you can see it still has that ed, that es sound there. There are a few words that have unique or what we call irregular ways of showing plurals, like child becomes children, woman becomes women, goose becomes geese, and mouse becomes mice. Now, some of these are because they're borrowed from another language. I believe some of them are German. And in the German, the en shows plural. So that's why we're just kind of, it's because not Canada, English borrows from all other languages. All right, another really common suffix is ing. We add ing to show that a verb's action is continuous or it's happening like currently. Like I could say, she was jumping rope all day yesterday and it was happening over and over again. Or I am jumping rope right now. It's happening right at the moment. When we do that, if the verb ends in an E, we drop the E and we just add the IND because the I does the exact same job as the E and it shows that the vowel is long. So if there's two P's, for example, hop becomes hopping. But if we don't bother doubling up that consonant and just have the single consonant, it hangs on to its own sound. It hangs on to that long vowel sound, like, liking, hate, hating, take, taking. If, for example, like for hate, if I put a double one there, that would say hatting, right? That's kind of one of those English tricks. If it's a small one-syllable word with a short vowel, then we double up the last consonant to help show that the vowel is still short. I'm kind of hoping you know what I mean when I say short. The short vowel sounds, ah, I, eh, ah, ah. All right. And same thing, ed shows that something happened in the past. So jump, jumped, land, landed, vent, vented. It might sound like d, it might sound like ed, it occasionally sounds like a T. If it ends in an E, we just add the D. Hated. We don't add two E's because then we'd end up with like a weird looking word like hated, right? Because double E says E, not eh. Line equals lined, fade equals faded. And once again, if it's a small one-syllable word with a short vowel, then we double that last consonant to help show the vowel is still short. Skip equals skipped, hop equals hopped. And again, there are irregular forms. Swim is the present, swam with the A is the past tense. Run is present, ran with the A is past tense. Come with the O is present, came with the A is past tense. Okay. Oh, that's weird. Gosh, I know I had just fixed this. Now I'm nervous as to whether these are going to show up. Okay. Huh. All right. Well, I'm sure you can see it. I'm going to do it and just kind of do that. All right. So if we go to some other spots and things aren't there that I played with, we'll know why. I'm actually on a different computer here than I am when I'm working. So they're supposed to sync up and they are supposed to do that automatically, but it's possible it didn't do that. So we're going to look at the underlined word, which I sort of ununderlined. I'll highlight it and figure out what information is that suffix giving you. So if I look at the word raced, okay, I'm going to give it a little, well, I'll just underline it. There we go. What is that D telling you? Is it that it's continuous action, past action, or is it a plural noun? Well, it's definitely not a noun. It's going to be the past action, right? The trees are beautiful. If I look at the word trees, what is that S telling me, that suffix? Is it continuous action, past action, or is it a plural noun? right? The S is showing me that there's more than one tree. The goat is jumping down the mountain. So looking at the word jumping, the ing, is the ing showing me a continuous action, past action, or plural noun? That is showing me continuous action. The boy dreamed as he slept. Now, this is actually kind of interesting. I want to show you both of these. Dreamed is past tense. So is slept. There are a few words, not a whole bunch of them, but there are a few words in English that instead of using the ed, use the t as their past tense. Burnt would be one of them. Kept, slept, wept. There's not a lot of them. Okay, it's more common to see the ed, but it does happen. So both of those, what are they showing you? They are showing you that's been happened in the past, right? Okay, many cities have skating parks. What is skating talking about here? This is actually a bad example, but it's showing you a continuous action. In this case, we're actually almost using it as a bit of an adjective, but that's what we're talking about. Now, we will discuss, there's a whole bunch more suffixes, which we will discuss next class. These are just some of the most basic ones that you see every single day. Okay. Now, here is the goals. The next two assignments are really working with graphic texts. So these are going to apply to kind of everything. And one is using your knowledge of the organizational structure of a variety of graphic texts to identify the purpose of a text, locate information, and pertinent details or important details. Also, being able to explain how the form of a graphic text helps the reader understand the information of the message, using appropriate strategies to locate information, make connections, make inferences, and activate or build on prior knowledge of the content of the graphic selections, and demonstrating your understanding of a variety of texts commonly read in daily life, including graphic texts. All of these are the type of thing that we do with any text that we read, but sometimes we didn't used to like worry that much about graphic text, but there's so much more graphic text these days that we do try and make sure that students are able to read it all. I think, quite frankly, that graphic texts are the easiest type of texts to read. And that's kind of the focus of lesson 9, symbols and emoticons, okay? A picture is worth 1,000 words. This first part is worth, it says 12 marks. I feel like it might be worth a little bit more than that because I think I added an extra part to this. In lesson 7, we looked at how to read a textbook. And here we're looking at graphic texts. If you are getting information out of it when you look at it and think about it, then that is considered a type of reading, okay? It is sometimes called a visual text. There are usually words and pictures involved, but they're working together to enhance the meaning of what you're looking for. Can you think of any examples of text where the pictures are as important, if not maybe more important, than the words? If you said comic books, then you are right on track. There are other formats too, things like maps, tables, charts, timelines, diagrams, and even advertisements and instruction manuals. It's important to understand the organizational structure of a variety of visual texts so that you can identify the purpose of the text, locate information, and identify important details. So, how does the form of a visual text help the reader to understand the information or the message it's trying to convey? They say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. You be the judge. Is that true or not? So first, we're going to be talking a lot about symbols in today's lesson, but what does the word symbol even mean? So it means, it has a variety of meanings, we talked about that, but they're very similar, these ones. A sign, a shape, or an object that is used to represent or stand in for something else, like a heart shape is a symbol of love. The wheel in the Indian flag, that's the India over by China, is a symbol of peace. It can also be something that is used to represent a quality or an idea. Like in a story, you might have water, and it might be symbolizing life as an image throughout their poems. Sometimes it could be a number, a letter, or a sign that's used in mathematics or music or science, like the symbol for oxygen is a great big capital O. An object can sometimes be described as a symbol of something else if it seems to represent it because it's connected with it in a lot of people's minds. It's a terrible definition, but basically they're using the idea that it isn't always a picture. It could be a real life object that people connect so much with a certain concept that we think of it as a symbol, right? Like if somebody's got a private jet, jets are hugely expensive. If you own a jet, then kind of it's synonymous with being somebody who's very wealthy, right? So the jet itself becomes a symbol of wealth. All right, assignment 27. Okay. Unless you've not used a computer or cell phone to send emails and text messages, you'll be familiar with the idea of an emoticon or an emoji. Emoticon is kind of the older version. The first part of the word looks like emotion. The second part of the word comes from the word icon, which is defined as a picture. So these are some of the old-fashioned emoticons. I was afraid you guys might not necessarily recognize these. If you're not sure, if you go to Wikipedia, Wikipedia has a list of the emoticons. You are welcome to go there and check those out if you're not sure what these mean, right? So we've got the little J, a capital L, a semicolon with a bracket, a colon with a capital P, a colon with a capital D, and knowing all of those is 1 mark. It's not a whole lot of marks. Why do you think emoticons or emojis have become so popular? List 3 other emojis or emoticons that you've seen or used, what they mean, and when you use them. So for this one, you would draw or insert the emoji, plus tell me what it means, plus tell me when you would use it. You would do this for 3 different ones. So here's an example of how that would sound. Here's my picture of the emoticon I'm using. Here is the silly face emoji. It means the person is acting silly or trying to be funny. I would use it if I was talking to a close friend to make sure they knew something I said was meant to be a joke or sarcastic. Okay, so it takes me, I can't just put it up there and walk away. You get 3 marks for these, but you have to have all of those elements, okay? 4, brainstorm a list of reasons for using symbols instead of words. Think about when symbols might be useful or maybe even necessary where you couldn't use words. Number 5, do you consider punctuation like periods, commas, exclamation points to be symbols? Why or why not? Hint, you might want to refer to a dictionary or an online encyclopedia such as Wikipedia to find the definition for punctuation before answering this question. Also hint, think about our definition of a symbol. Now, I'm going to point something out this is super important. You cannot just write me down whatever the dictionary definition says. You can mention the definition, but you still need to explain why they are or are not symbols. Also, keep in mind, different dictionaries will give you a different definition, okay? So they won't all have the exact same words. So you can't rely on that 100%. So here's an example of what I mean. On this side, the left-hand side are poor answers. On the right-hand side are my good answers. Poor answers. I think they're symbols because the dictionary said so. No. I think they are not symbols because the dictionary didn't say anything about symbols. All right, symbols are a mark or character used as a conventional representation of an object, function, or process, e.g., the letter or letters standing for a chemical element or a character in musical notation. Okay, so 2 things. A, that is obviously not your own words. Nobody talks that way in real life, okay? It is very clear that that is a dictionary definition, okay? But here's the thing, it's also considered plagiarism because you didn't credit the dictionary. You didn't answer the sentence, and it doesn't make any sense. A good answer might be the dictionary said, tell me what the dictionary definition was, and then say, and I think punctuations marks are or are not symbols because, and then you would explain it. So here you are giving credit to the dictionary. You are answering the question, and hopefully it makes sense. I would also say what dictionary you're using. I'm going to put Collins here just because it's short. You might be using a different dictionary, right? Like I said, they have different definitions. Okay, last one is, what do you think the following symbols stand there? Now, this says 3. I've had a few people who got mixed up and thought that meant only do 3. That's not what it means. It means you're getting 3 marks for all of them. You have to tell me what every single one means. Okay, if you're not sure, you can always search on Google. A quick hint, the second row are all road signs. And this third row are all warning labels on materials. Okay, so here are some sites where you could understand these symbols. Here is what's called WHMIS. If you're doing co-op, you probably know about this. And it would list all the different symbols and explain what they're there for. Okay, so that's one thing you can use to help you. The other thing is road signs in Canada. You want to use Canadian ones because sometimes different countries or even different provinces might have slightly different signs. So here explains what they are, okay? And then if you're just looking for symbols in general, here's an example. You could look it up otherwise. So here are, let's see. Yeah, so there are some examples of those as well, okay? So you don't have to just guess, that you can just look it up. All right, here we go. We have got here symbols as text, but tattoos are often another form of text that you see. They can have visuals, and as you can see, they might have words. Even sometimes some people have tattoos that are only words. They usually hold great meaning for the person who has one. They will often tell you a story if you say, like, why have you got a butterfly? Why have you got this anchor? They will tell you why. It usually has personal meaning, or it's a symbol for them. It's an important symbol to them usually. It may indicate spiritual beliefs. There may be a big story behind it. It may show what kind of job a person did, what a person was interested in or is interested in. In these cases, it might be really useful, right? So that is an important thing that we're actually going to follow up on. So this is a new assignment. This is part B of assignment 27. We didn't do this last year, so it's kind of new, but I thought it was kind of, I don't know, I thought it was a fun addition, so hopefully you guys think so too. This part is worth 9 marks. I want you to imagine what tattoo Jimmy or Teresa in our novel might choose if one of them were to get a tattoo. I want you to explain what images or words the person might have on their tattoo. I want you to include at least 3 important elements to this tattoo and explain why each one is relevant. I want you to draw the tattoo and label the relevant marks. So this is your 9 marks. 1 mark for each of the 3 elements, 1 mark for each of the 3 relevant explanations, and 1 mark for drawing each of the 3 visual elements for the tattoo. Now, I'm not really marking your drawing. As long as I can tell what it is, it does not have, it can be as simple as you want, but that is what I'm looking for. And in the unit, I've put a space right here, space for your idea for the tattoo. Now, if you want to do it on a separate page, that is totally fine, okay? Here is the tattoo that I designed, okay? You can see here's kind of a tree, here's probably looks like a dog, but it's meant to be a wolf. And then here is my moon. And here I explain it. This is a tattoo I think Gary might get. I deliberately chose Gary because he's not one of the assignment ones. I think Gary might have a wolf by itself under the moon. And there should be a bare tree in silhouette as well. The wolf is to convey the idea of being dangerous and loneliness. The moon is to show it is dark, because I think Gary feels safer at night because he can hide and do his drugs easier then. The tree is bare to show how lifeless Gary feels. So that's my example, and I'm really, really curious to see people's drawings of tattoos. Okay, moving on to lesson 10. Here's where we're talking about advertising. Advertising is another type of graphic text. This one is worth at least 44 marks. It might even be worth a little bit more right now, okay? Will Rogers. Will Rogers is a very famous old-timey actor who did a lot of cowboy work. He, at one point, said, advertising is the art of convincing people to spend money they don't have for something they don't need. It's a bit negative, but you have to admit there are times when you've been watching TV or reading a magazine or on a computer or whatever, just driving down the road, minding your own business, and you suddenly hear or see something being advertised and suddenly you feel like you need it. It's important that you as a consumer becomes literate in reading, viewing, watching, hearing advertisements. All advertisements target a specific audience and they are all created for a specific purpose. Usually, they're trying to persuade you to buy something. Often, advertisements will try to appeal to more than one group of people. After all, the more people that are influenced by the ad, the more money the company doing the advertising makes. Having said that, most ads are not targeted to everyone. Okay. People always want to say that it's to everybody. No, because the truth is, not everybody wants the same things, right? Not everybody is looking for the same type of car. Not everybody is looking for the same type of clothes. Not everybody is interested in the same type of hobbies. So it really isn't to everybody. They're going to make it as broad as possible, but they usually have a picture in their head. They might even have written this all down usually of exactly their perfect target audience that they're aiming for. Okay. Yep. So they may aim at specific genders, specific age groups. This is really common. Kids, teenagers, young adults, middle-aged, seniors. And that's one's obvious, like, right, you're not going to aim toys at seniors. They're not interested. By the same token, you're not going to talk about retirement plans to kids because they're not interested. Specific income ranges. This depends on what you're trying to sell. Like orange juice doesn't matter, but things like luxury cars are kind of only affordable for a certain income bracket. So they're going to be targeting the type of people they think can afford it, right? Specific hobbies, activities, or lifestyles like woodworking enthusiasts or young couples with no children or people who travel a lot or certain regions, right? There are ads you might only see in coastal areas or large urban areas or rural areas. This can be quite biased sometimes. There was some really interesting studies at one point where they found out that things like cigarettes and booze and stuff like that was being advertised way more heavily in areas where there was a lot of poverty because people were often using those types of things to as a means of escaping their life. So it's kind of a nasty type of advertising. Okay. So normally at this point, I would show you this really cute, very funny commercial that has Ed Sheeran in it. However, YouTube's kind of cracking down on us kind of showing little videos. So if you get a chance, check it out on YouTube. It really is cute and funny. Here is the link. Who are they targeting? And who is their audience? We haven't got a chance to watch the whole thing, but just kind of talking about it. In it, Ed Sheeran goes to this super fancy restaurant and they're trying to impress him with all their super fancy food and fancy cooking, and they bring the dish to him. And then he asks for ketchup, and they're all horrified that he would ask for something as ordinary as ketchup. Okay. Who are they targeting? Who is their audience? And again, everyone isn't true. My 85-year-old mom would have no idea why this commercial is appealing because A, she does not like ketchup, and she does not have any idea who the main actor is. She doesn't know who this guy is, right? So what appeal are they making? Well, the idea is, hey, if a rich, famous guy like Ed Sheeran likes ketchup, especially Heinz ketchup, then you should too, right? And it kind of makes it have like he's so well respected and thought of, it's like a little bit of his glitter or glamour kind of rubs off on the Heinz ketchup so that you think of that in the same way, right? Okay, here is a Nike magazine ad. The text says, "The shoe works if you do." And the picture, in case you're out on the radio and can't see this, is these are old-fashioned high tops. They are kind of made in like a blue denim type substance. They've got a red Nike swoosh and navy blue ties. They look like the kind of thing that was worn quite a bit when in the 70s and 80s, 70s mostly probably. And the other text says, "The Nike Sweet Classic High is comfortable while still remaining in style. With great quality and a wide variety of color options, these sneakers are perfect for casual use. Stay fly, stay fresh, and get yourself a pair. And then, of course, their tagline, just do it. And then you've got the little Nike swoosh and their website, nike.com. And this is all over a gray background that looks like paper, like crumpled up paper. I'm not sure why. Who made the ad? Nike. What are they selling? These shoes. Who is the audience for these shoes? I would say two main audiences. A, people who are older who want to kind of relive the past by getting some of their favorite shoes, or young people who are trying to look hip by wearing kind of vintagey clothing, right? How are they trying to convince you to buy their product? They're implying that like wearing their shoes will make things work. They're comfortable, they're in style, and you're going to look fresh, like modern, by getting yourself a pair of these vintage shoes, which I think is an interesting paradoxical effect, but that is their hook. Now here's just a different one, eh? Again, if you're out in Radio Land, what we have here is a picture, kind of a fuzzy white background, and then in front is a man's leg, bare on the one side, and on the other side, there is a very fancy electronic or artificial leg. And the tagline says, spare parts for humans are not as original as those for cars. Then it says, don't drink and drive. And then in little letters, it says, issued in public interest by BMW, and a tiny little picture of the BMW logo. So who made this ad? BMW. But you have to kind of look for it. If you aren't looking, you might not notice. What are they selling? Okay, this is interesting. As far as I can tell, they're not selling anything, really. They're trying to sell the idea of when you drive cars, don't drink. Having said that, I suppose there's an obscure possibility that they also make artificial legs, which would be very cool. I've never found that out. If anyone else knows, it's certainly a possibility, right? But I don't think they're selling those legs. Who is their audience? Whoever would normally buy their cars, BMWs. So people who might want to look cool or look rich, and they're sort of saying, don't do it by drinking, right? How are they trying to make their product compelling? Well, it's weird because there's not even a single picture of a car here, right? So in one way, it doesn't seem like they're trying to sell cars, but they probably spent oodles of money on this. So they're always trying to sell cars. That's kind of their job. But they're trying to show, hey, we're a responsible company. We care about you, right? So if you buy our product, you can trust that we aren't just trying to sell you things for no reason. We actually care about you as a person, right? They're trying to make themselves look sort of warm and fuzzy and kind. Okay, and that's what we're going to be looking at today and doing with ads today. This is assignment 28. There are 2 parts to it. We will not get to part 2 today. We're just going to have time to talk about part A. Okay. It is important to notice how different groups of people are portrayed. Portrayed is kind of like, how are they seen, but like also like, how are they being staged, right? Because when you're portraying somebody, you're deliberately trying to make them look a certain way to convey a certain image. And your task is to go through some magazines and or newspapers until you have found some advertisements that are targeted towards the following groups of people. Now, you can do this assignment using advertisements that you find on the internet rather than an actual magazine, but the ad itself must still be in the format of a magazine ad. And I'm going to talk about why in a minute. Obviously, make sure you get permission from the owner of the magazine before you rip it out. But if you've got your phone, don't bother, just take a picture and load it up. That's fine. If you don't have any access to that kind of stuff, the library will often have magazines. And if you have an elementary school in your district, even if there isn't a learning center, most school libraries are going to have some sort of magazines in their library for kids. It doesn't matter if they're like little kid magazines, might still work. Hang on to ads that you choose because you're going to need them for the second part of the assignment. You want to make sure you've got one ad for each category, and then you're going to fill in the chart telling me what is the ad selling and how are the people portrayed in the advertisement. Oh, some other places you might find print magazines, nursing stations, doctor's or dentist's office, small stores. Now, here's the previous, that's what we had last year. The problem was I found people just really weren't sure how to fill this in. So I've redone this chart and tried to make it a little more clear, and I've made a little less of these, so hopefully it's a little more clear as well. So here, in the first section, you need to tell me what are you selling, the product and the brand name. And then how is the person represented or portrayed in the ad? What are their looks? What's the feeling and the attitude? Now I changed the word portrayed to represented because I feel like that was maybe causing the problem. So here I've got babies. I found one for Pampers diapers. There's an older baby crawling outside with a sun hat and a diaper. You can't see the baby's face, but the mom looks happy looking at the baby. Do I have it? I don't actually have it here. Okay. So you have to do both of these parts, okay? Some people are doing just one part and not the other, but then you're losing half your marks. I trimmed it down to just 10 types: women, men, teenagers, people of color, parents, families, children, senior citizens or elders, rich people, and celebrities. Now, I want to point out, if it's targeted, if there's a woman, there has to be a woman in the picture if you're picking this one. It can't just be targeted towards women. So if you saw an ad that had like a bracelet, but there was no woman in it, you can't pick that one because I'm trying to see how are they showing what the woman or the other person looks like, not just what are they targeting towards them. Okay, so that's a really important point. So you wouldn't just say makeup. You would tell me CoverGirl lipstick. You do not need to send me the ads. Some people do. Please don't just send me the ads and not fill this in. You will get 0. The ads tell me nothing. I'm trying to see if you can read the ad, right? I want to know what you read out of it, not just see the ad itself. Okay, that's really, really important. You could describe their feelings when they're talking about how they're portrayed. Are they sad? Are they happy? Are they disappointed? Are they embarrassed? You could describe their appearance, not like he's wearing a red shirt, but he's wearing a sporty red shirt. He's wearing a ugly torn red shirt. He's wearing a fancy red shirt. You're trying to give me a sense of the quality: fancy, athletic, poor, sexy, hip, old-fashioned, tough. You could also describe the overall atmosphere given off in the ad: successful, adventurous, bullied, left out, tidy, messy, etc. Okay, so here's an example of an ad, right? There's a field with golden wheat. There's a couple, an older couple. The guy is holding the woman. He's got kind of an arm around her. They're staring off into the sunset. They have little fake purple crowns on their head. And the tagline says, "Live like royalty." Okay, so the people are senior citizens. What are they selling? They're selling something called Kingsbridge Home Health Care Services to seniors. And how are the seniors being portrayed? They're positive. They seem happy. I'm going with happy, not because I can see their faces, but because the warm colors make me feel like they're happy. And the idea of being royalty makes me think of happy as well. They're surrounded by a golden light. They have crowns on. So they seem like successful and happy, not worn out and old, really. Okay. Now, I have pretty big handwriting. I think the original is pretty tiny. I did try and make it bigger, but if it's still too small for you, you are welcome to set it up on notebook paper like this. Just set up the same table. That's fine, okay? So here's an example of what you would be doing. What type of person is in this picture and how are they being portrayed? So again, if you're out in TV land, we've got a bright yellow ad. There is a girl, young, maybe somewhere between 16 and 25. She's wearing a bright yellow bikini, and there's a great big tagline behind her that says, "Are you Beachbody ready?" Protein World, the weight loss collection, and then I think I'm going to move this. Pretty sure, yeah, there's like a little picture of protein powder in the corner. Okay. So this is for teenage girls or young adult women, and they're trying to sell the protein powder. And they're portraying girls who use it as sexy, slim, and what they're calling beach body ready. So who is this towards? Women. What are they selling? Protein powder. How are they portrayed? Thin, sexy, fit, and beach body ready. Like this protein is going to make you look like this, right? All right, and then over here, we've got a male version of an ad for protein powder, and you can see it's quite different, which is interesting to me. Here, their background is black. There's a guy with really, really huge muscles, like steroid type muscles. He's surrounded by this interesting golden glow, like he's magic or something. He's not facing the camera, he's facing away from the camera, and he's striking one of those like weightlifter poses. He looks very tough. He's got like really big tattoos all over his arms and back. He almost looks like a superhero. He looks so strong with that golden glow. So who's this being sold to? Men. What are they selling? They're still selling protein powder, but they've really changed how they're portraying it, right? Now it's no longer about sexy or thin. Now they're talking about him being strong, muscled, tough. He's got big tattoos. He almost looks, like I said, like a superhero or godly with this golden glow around him, which, wow, that'd be an amazing protein powder if it made you look all that, right? That's what they're implying. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about when you're searching for magazine ads, because this part has sometimes been a little bit hard, because I know not everybody gets magazines, right? They're not as common as they used to be. Sometimes if you put into your search engine magazine ads, it will bring up all these images, but they aren't necessarily all magazine ads just because Google told you so. So here's an example from one search where here's some of the things that grabbed. None of these particular ones are magazine ads. They don't count. So what is wrong with these images and why don't they count as a magazine ad? Well, this one is actually just a picture of a desk, right? It's not selling anything. It has the word advertising on it, but it's not selling you anything. Here, this is actually the cover of a magazine, right? It's not really an ad. They're not selling Blackpink and they're not really selling Elle. It's just an ad. Here, this is kind of hard to tell what it is. It says, and in England, parents have called to abolish junior school exams. And there's a guy there, young kid, holding a gun, right? It doesn't look like an ad either. Maybe it's a meme. Maybe it's a photograph meant to go along with some sort of magazine or newspaper story, but they're not selling anything there. So those wouldn't count even if Google says, yes, this is a magazine ad. Why is it so important that it be a magazine ad selling a product? Because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking in the next little bit about different hooks that advertisers use, right? But they only really work if you're selling a product or a service. Other types of advertising are not going to have these same types of hooks. So then if you go to find them, it's not going to work and it's going to be frustrating. So some examples of advertising that's not going to have these same types of hooks. Event advertising, like an event, like a concert, a fair, a hockey game. It may be advertising, but it's not the kind of advertising we're talking about. Advertising to sell a magazine like Cosmopolitan or Vogue is not going to use these types of advertising. The cover page of a magazine does not count as a magazine ad. Contests like photography contests or a 5K run. Again, they're advertising the event, but they're not going to be using the same types of hooks at all. Public information ads, like the government puts these kind of ads out all the time. Upcoming tax dates, upcoming town hall meetings, things like that. They aren't going to have those same types of advertisements, like advertising hooks, because they're not trying to sell you something, not in that same sense. Also, it really does need to be a magazine ad. Facebook ads don't quite work the same because they have an interactive element that magazine ads lack. So if I was going to click on this, it would probably take me through different screens. It might take me to a sign up page. It'd be kind of hard to talk about it because it would have so many elements, but also because it has all those interactive elements, they don't necessarily put all their hooks on the very first page the way a magazine ad would. What is one more reason I couldn't use this as an ad for this assignment? There's no person here, right? I'm trying to talk about how people are portrayed in ads. The Acorn guy doesn't count. I'm sorry. So I could not use that as a magazine ad. Here is another example. This is a photo contest ad. It's kind of a template for one, actually. There is a young man in the shot, but it isn't targeted only at men, right? They're not saying only men can participate in this photo ad. And they're not really selling you anything per se. They're just trying to get you to participate. Now, the photo contest might generate sales and interest in their magazine, but they aren't like selling you the photos. It's a bit obscure. Their goal is a tiny bit different here. It's not going to work in terms of looking for hooks about how they're selling their products, right? It's just not geared the same way. Here's one more example. Again, here is a beautiful magazine cover, but it's not a magazine ad, right? A magazine ad would be inside trying to sell a product, not trying to sell the magazine, okay? There's a young celebrity on the front who I probably should know, but I don't. They want to encourage people to buy it, but again, it's not as targeted as what we're looking for. And here's an event ad. Basically, if you like the artists advertised, you're going to go or want to go if you can afford it. But if you don't like them, you're not going to. So they don't really use a lot of sales techniques other than trying to make it look kind of cool. And there's also no people here other than a few hands. So you wouldn't really be able to use this for a magazine ad. Some other hints that show you that it's a magazine ad. Oh, I'm almost running out. They are usually the full page of a magazine, typically 8 by 5 by 11 inches. They're long rectangles, and they would be shown upright. They wouldn't go the other way because magazines are read like this. The name of the product or the brand is going to be somewhere on the page. Even if it's really small, it's going to be there. Otherwise, they're paying money for nothing. It will not have the name of the magazine on it. If it says National Geographic on it, then they're not selling a product, okay? There are no moving graphics, right? That only works on a computer, so it's going to be very hard to explain and describe. And again, it's using a different type of hook. So here's a screenshot of what I see when I put magazine print ads. And I don't have time to do this, but which of these are actually ads? Well, not all of them, right? Some of them are kind of, here's a picture. If you go into the, if you clicked on the link, you would go to an ad. Like this is just magazine pictures. This is showing you some, right? So I have to kind of look around and make sure I'm getting what I think I'm getting. Oh, that's what I was talking about. Underneath, like 17 clever print ad examples, I could click on that and that might give me some examples of magazine ads. Now, there are digital versions of the magazines, and I did flip through some to see if they would work for us, but they really don't. They don't use traditional magazine ads. They just use digital ads, which is a whole different type of advertising. We're not going to really talk about that right here. You can enter very specific engine search terms like magazine ads with senior citizens, but you are still going to check that what you've pulled up is actually an ad, not a meme like this, or a magazine cover like this, or a newspaper article, right? Or something else, right? You got to click on it and make sure. You can't just assume it is because Google pulled it up. So the big important thing is what people group is in the ad, because you're trying to match that. This one, it's kind of hard to tell in the picture, but I'm going to assume it's a man due to what the text says. which says somewhere on an airplane, a man is trying to rip open a small bag of peanuts. What are they selling? Harley-Davidson motorcycles. How is the person portrayed? Peaceful, free, powerful, surrounded by beauty, right? So I don't have to describe necessarily he's got a black helmet on. I'm not talking about their looks. I'm talking about the overall atmosphere of the ad, okay? All right, tomorrow we will do part B. You're going to need to use one of the ads that you used in part A. So pick one that has a lot to talk about, hang on to them, don't get rid of them. You're going to need them for the next part, okay? Thank you so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place.